afternoon. Welcome to another Rotary Thursday. Certainly glad to have each one of you here. This is a very special day in the history of our country as we think back on D-Day. And I think we talked last week about, some of you in here, many of you are veterans and how important that is. But D-Day was a special day. And, I shudder to think, what would have happened had there not been a D-Day or whatever. But I've read, how many of y'all have ever read D-Day by Stephen Ambrose? Great book. And it really lays out, what all was involved in it. And he wrote one called Pegasus Bridge. That's a great book by him about the World War II. But we celebrate today, or honor, I should say, we honor those who sacrificed for our freedom, and certainly glad to do that. On the lighter side, evidently the political banter, satire or whatever has started. I read this morning one of the candidates that has declared for presidential bid was going to make every effort to have more manufacturing jobs in the United States. She bought a television and it said built in antenna, and didn't know where that country was, but more jobs in the U.S. And she also said that she wasn't sure where the electoral college was, but the tuition should be free there. And, but I was pleased with one statement that the person said. She plans to always take good care of the veterans because they take such good care of our pets. And so, anyway, we'll be hearing a lot more about these folks. But Patrick has agreed to have our invocation.
Follow that. Everybody heads. Dear Lord Heavenly Father, Please take your time and your patience to look over those who have served in our military, whether it was 75 years today or it is today in this very moment. Our soldiers who stand in front of the front lines for our freedoms are truly those who deserve the utmost respect. As we go into this season of graduation, as some of our local seniors decide to go off to the military, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and please pray for all of our graduates over the next 2 or 3 days as they embrace of the next journey of their lives. And Lord, especially, please give me sunshine tomorrow and today for their graduations. Amen.
Thank you very much. Speaking of graduates, who's got a graduate in their family this year? Anybody?
John does.
Yep.
John Jonesboro.
Oh, okay. What happened to him? He vanished or whatever. Okay. Who else raised a hand? Neil? Where was yours? Jim, where was yours? I'm sorry.
Berkeley College of Music, Boston.
Boston? Okay. Who else who had? They raised their hands.
A nephew and niece tonight at Lee Senior.
Oh, okay. Lee Senior's tonight's graduation. Okay. Charles?
I had a grandson graduate from the 8th grade at Moncure High School. And, he made the class speech.
Oh, wow.
His old grandpa was just sitting out there beaming.
Beaming, like I bet so. John, who graduated?
My oldest is graduating in, what time is it now? About 3 or 4 hours. He'll be graduating at Lee County High.
Great.
Yeah.
Super. Wow. That's good. I had a, I'm sorry, Chad.
I got one. This kid that I've been mentoring, one of them kids I've been mentoring about 10 years is graduating, and this kid is freaking awesome. He grew up in a neighborhood where half his friends are shot and already killed. They sell cocaine all the time. I found him in a crack house with about 16 other families with no running water, living in one room, full of cigarette smokes with no bed. He's graduating high school. And I never thought this kid would actually graduate high school. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's just been a huge blessing in my life to be a part of his life, and we've done a lot of cool things. But we all grow up in middle class neighborhoods, and our parents kind of tell us what we need to do and the next steps we need to go, but it's just, he said nothing, you know.
Chad, what's next?
He wants to go to CC, so.
That's super.
Yeah, he got his first job at Arby's. Nobody in his family owns a car. They've never seen Jordan Lake, the beach, the mountains, you know, these kind of poverty levels. But it blew me away. He called me the other day and he was like, "Hey, I'm graduating." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I'm graduating." He's been at Bragg Street because he gets beat up every time he goes back to Lee Senior Man. These people jump him so I was just like about to cry, but we're gonna go out to eat tonight and go to graduation. But I was like, it's crazy.
Thank you for sharing
Follow up on
that.
I've met that young man, and he is an extremely hard-working young man, and is looking forward to being a chef, which I'm not saying, right?
He's at Arby's right now, but yeah.
And I had the pleasure of spending time with him last Thursday, was the reason I want here,
At Bragg Street?
at Bragg Street.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah.
Great. I have a 11-year-old and she graduated from, she'll be going to middle school next year, so she graduated from elementary school and she said, "Pops, I was on the principal's list." And I said, "Darling, I was always on the principal's list for a different reason, you know, different reason." So, but anyway, we're very proud of all of them, aren't we? That's a great thing to do. Mike, are you doing the list, or that's for me today?
Yeah, I can, or you can.
Why don't you do it and get the experience?
Jump in.
Welcome back, Mr. Zach Womble. Yes, Mr. Howard Baca, Zach is back with us again. Please welcome him. Glad to have you back, Zach.
Thank you.
We have a few announcements today. David Cody has an announcement for us.
All right, first of all, I've got 4 tickets to the Super Regional in Chapel Hill Saturday at noon, and found out Mike's daughter, my granddaughter, has a birthday party at 11 that morning, so I can't make it. If anybody wants all 4 tickets or 2 tickets for free, let me know. It's in Chapel Hill, and like I say, it's a noon, if it's not raining, a noon game time. So if you're interested, see me. And
Well, I don't like to be in Chapel Hill, but that's tempting. I'm gonna have to say that's tempting.
it's a nice stadium.
It is.
Watch your ball game.
Yeah.
And Neil gave me this. We received we already have announced that we've got Gold Club, but this will go on our banner, and it'll be the last one that'll go on the banner, since this is the last year they're going to do Gold Club. So I'll pin that on the banner at the end of the meeting.
Larry has an announcement.
Yeah, very sad. Linda was supposed to come from the hospice down in Pinehurst, I think it is, home yesterday, and was unable to do that. And so the whole family is gathered down there, so keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Charles asked me about whether we should send a card around today. I mean, we can do that, but I'm sure we'll be sending another card soon. What do you think? Should we tell him we're thinking about him? He knows. I mean, I've been in touch with him, and
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't hurt.
pardon?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice.
Okay, Charles, would you circulate a card then? I'll drop it off.
John also had an announcement.
Yeah, maybe not really the same announcement as Larry, but Yvonne called me a couple of minutes to noon today, and we love Yvonne, and she's a big part of us and all. And I talked to her 2 or 3 days ago, and she said she thinks she has a UTI, and this isn't supposed to get personal about her physical health, but I said, "I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do for you?" Which any of us would have said. Well, this is 2 or 3 days later, and she's lost weight, she's dehydrated, she's been to the hospital, she's getting testing done, and I didn't know at some age for a woman that a UTI would knock you out, but apparently I'm finding out that it does, because I thought it was something that you get over kind of quickly and all that. So pray for her, just think about her, and I've offered. Yvonne will not ask for help, you all know that? to a fault. And so I wanted to mention that because we are part of the same family. And I told her that I would, update the membership about what's going on with her. She's fine, she's at home. She said she unloaded the dishwasher earlier today and she had to go back to bed because she was so tired. So she's not doing so well. But she's stubborn like all of us are, and all that, and that's a good thing. But anyways, just
Should
keep
we
her in your
just-
thoughts and prayers.
John, you reckon if we fixed the plate, would somebody take that? Or
Yeah.
take it by there, would that be an idea?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you have another card?
She'd even eat it because she's
We
on
could
the
send
plate.
to Vermont,
Yeah,
if you wouldn't mind.
I'll bring it by,
Take-
Charles,
take
thank you,
the card
yeah.
to Vermont.
Circulate around.
Yeah.
Because it means something to know that, we're doing something for her and all that stuff. That would go a long way for her, so.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
for Keeping
Yep.
us up on that.
Yep.
Anything else?
I want to just thank everybody here for the cards, emails, and texts that you guys sent me when my mother passed 2 weeks ago. Those cards really meant more to me than I ever thought they would. I just realized how much I appreciate this club, and it was great that y'all are thinking about us, and we're moving along quite very.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At a time like that, everything helps, doesn't it?
Good does.
It certainly does. And I was reading in the paper, you're one of 4 brothers or 5? Is it
There's 5 boys and a girl.
5 boys and a girl? Wow, y'all had a big supper table to take care of, didn't you?
That's why I was there. I was in the middle and I couldn't get in there.
You're doing something else, you miss out, you're done for, hey. Good job,
Hard
thank
work
you,
around
thank
that
you so much.
day.
Anything else? Any brags today? Got any brags? Got one, John's got a brag.
Well, so
I
you
think it's
stole my
gonna be a
thunder.
Free brag day today, I don't think we have.
No,
that.
I planned on
don't think we have the.
paying for
Okay,
this.
that's all right.
But
This is a
I've got
freebie.
several, and I'm not shy. I'm kind of boisterous and I speak out a lot. No, but I don't stand up and brag a lot, so I got to get them in this time.
Yeah.
But one was that my oldest son is graduating from high school, and I am so proud of him. So that's one. I mean, that should be $20, but that's
What's
$1.
next for him?
So he's going to, that's the second dollar.
Okay.
He got into Appalachian State.
Ooh.
So he's going to ASU. He's going to be in Boone in the fall.
No wonder you bought that mountain house.
That's right. And I think that's what started it all.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's another one. Family's coming into town as we speak. They're going to be here in a couple hours. Another thing is I sent David Morse a text after I found that his mom had passed. And I basically just wanted to tell him that I love him and I'm sorry to hear that. And he was very humble and he told me how much it meant to him. And I want to let you know that I'm rocking your world again today. Because, oh, look at that party right there. What y'all don't know is David Morse and I have a competition. See, he doesn't even wear socks anymore.
Not
No.
so.
Because I've been beating him on
This is no
this.
sock summer.
If you've looked down at any Rotary meeting and seen, he has a beer mug, he's got a martini glass, he's got a golf tee or something like that on his socks. So I'm trying to catch up and beat him at his own game, and then he stops wearing socks.
The word for that, John, is hip.
Is that what it is?
That's an old word. I don't know what it is.
We're old people.
So I think that's enough. I think that's my 3 right there.
Thank you very much. Any other brags?
This is not a brag.
This
but
is a
I forgot-
freebie. You can have a freebie today.
I forgot to mention this. Mike's Happiness Fund that the club has. My niece, AJ Thomas, who's a guidance counselor, sent a message a week and a half ago or so, and there was a family with kids in school, and their father had some type of major, I think it was a heart attack. He'd had heart surgery or something. Was out of work, and they were just really in a crunch as far as paying rent, groceries. So today we delivered a $300 gift card for Lowe's Food. That'll get them, at least through the next week and a half or so on groceries, and other, churches and other groups are helping them also. But I want everybody to know, because we send emails and usually it's just a board, it's just okay to do, and I forget to tell the club. So just to let you know, selling these raffle tickets, the pots of gold tickets. that's where the money comes to do things like this for the club. So I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. Anything else? Okay, we want to give our speaker plenty of time. Through the years, I've heard David and Robert and some of their other friends, playing the guitar and singing a little bit. But the other night I had the privilege of going to the sister city, I guess call it the barbecue out at the, help me out, what's the name of that place we were?
Oakland Farm.
Oakland Farms or whatever. And while we were there waiting and just networking and all of that stuff, I thought I heard Jimi Hendrix. Somewhere in the background, I was hearing Jimi Hendrix. But anyway, we truly have a talent in our club, and I know we've seen him on a video before. But I asked Chad if he would. I was so impressed with all that he did that night. I just asked if he would tell us a little bit about his history with music. I was about to say how he got started, but I know after, with his father, didn't have any choice on that. But and I also asked him if he would take some time and name his top 5 guitar players. And so anyway, Chad said, I'd love to do that. So we're going to turn it over to him and let him talk about his music and a great hobby of his. He might even play something for us.
I'm definitely gonna play something for you.
And a few words.
Well, that's good to know, man. I thought that the program pool was getting shallow and you just needed somebody to fill in. I appreciate that.
I'm impressed. I can't. I don't know which end of the guitar to pick up. So,
Well, I will give you a quick announcement. Dad and I are in a Creedence Clearwater cover band, and we are playing outside the Camelback Brewing Company next Thursday. We got a big sound guy stage, and Deep River Park Association that we're on, and we manage pretty much all the river accesses. We did a benefit last year and raised about $9,000, and they're just doing a thank you to the community for all the donations. We're not taking money that night, but they're cooking pigs. It's gonna be an old school Sanford party, live music, Creedence, and barbecue. So if you're not doing anything, come out. And as far as how I got into music, obviously, yeah, Dad. When we were at my house growing up, there was no talking when Dad was in the den watching the Redskins, the Braves, or Carolina basketball. And he had a guitar in his hand all the time. He'd be playing, and my sister and I, my brother, would just dancing around, and it was kind of just assumed it was normal. And my granddaddy plays harmonica, my cousins play. It was kind of, a lot of folks in our family do that, so it's just kind of passed it down to my kids, and it got passed down to me. So I think what I'm going to do today is, I'm not going to play and sing a lot, but I wanted to give you guys a little historical background of my top 5 guitar players. I did pick 5. Man, that's crazy, hard to do. But essentially, I'm going to play you bits and pieces of music from Europe and Africa and how it transcended into America, and how my favorite influences kind of came together. And each one of them kind of learned from the next one until it ended up at Led Zeppelin. These aren't my favorite bands, but my favorite guitar players. So I'm going to start off we'll start off in Europe. In Europe, especially Scotch-Irish music, as the Irish folks migrated to North Carolina, there was a lot of farming going on. And a lot of their tunes over there were played on bagpipes and fiddles and mandolins. But when it actually transcended to the guitar, one of my favorite acoustic guitar players is Doc Watson. He's from North Carolina. Doc Watson was born up near Deep Gap, which is kind of Wilkesboro area. He basically took a lot of old Irish fiddle tunes and started flat picking them on guitar. He was blind, he couldn't see, but he is one of the most phenomenal, kind of the father of flat picking music. So I'll start off and just play you a bit of a song. It's an Irish song called Durang's Hornpipe. And this is what a song like this would have sounded like in Europe before it migrated across the ocean. So hear that old fiddling music, that Irish sound.
Dancing.
Yeah, well, and I'm not warmed up either, so my fingers are listening. But when that actually came across and ended up in Appalachia, or the Appalachian Mountain area, it took a lot of songs that were Irish songs like Whiskey Before Breakfast and Black Mountain Rag and a lot of these other tunes. And they kind of slowed them down a little bit, but they just started what they call flat picking. And that song would have normally been played on a fiddle, and that's actually a Doc Watson version of that song. But this is what Doc Watson kind of did with a song like, maybe I'll do, let's see, I've written all these down because there's a billion songs I know. How about Blackberry Blossom? This is a song, and when it first started being transposed into guitar, or played on guitar, you would have a rhythm guitar player and a lead guitar player. So the rhythm on a song like this would be like, and then Doc Watson would take that fiddle part and come in and do something like that. So that's kind of where you see the transition from fiddling tunes to where you're getting this really unique to North Carolina and Tennessee, this flat picking style, which eventually turned into bluegrass, newgrass, progressive jazz, and all this other music. Another song that you might have heard, they used to do it on cartoons when I was little and watching it at my granddaddy's house, was Black Mountain Rag, and this is a one that Doc Watson actually wrote about deep gaps. So that kind of leads into another song that we're going to do. I'm just playing bits and pieces of these, but then he started singing to this flat picking song, and he started integrating chords and rhythm in these same songs, whereas he was just a solo guitar player. And then he started doing songs like Shady Grove, where you have a little flat picking and a little chord progression, so you don't need a whole band, and then he's singing these kind of Appalachian style songs. And this is one called Shady Grove, and it's Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say, Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound to go away. Just one little Shady Grove, as sweet as brandy wine, and there ain't no girl in this old world prettier than mine. So that's kind of like when you see the Scotch-Irish music starting to get Americanized, with the chord progressions and adding in the lead to the guitar. And this kind of leads up to one of my favorite, this guy changed bluegrass playing, acoustic guitar playing. His name's Tony Rice. He was born in Danville, Virginia in the 40s, late 40s. And Tony took what Doc was doing with these songs and he's called the basically father of newgrass music. And he would take a song, he invented this thing called cross picking, where what I was just doing is chop, chop, and he was doing things like, chords, there would be lead picking. So a style that he would have played would have been a song like Church Street Blues, which is usually a pretty boring song, and then Tony got a hold of that song, and it sounds like this. I've been hanging out of town, reading my book and rain, watching good times, Charlie Friends is driving me insane. On shady Charlotte Street, all the green lights are red, wishing back home on the farm, reading my bed. And I got myself a rocking chair, see like blues, those in times, hard times, on Church Street Blues. Something like that, you can still hear the Scotch-Irish melody, but you hear a lot more picking in the chord and the rhythm, and that was kind of unheard of. So like, pretty much he set a standard, kind of like Michael Jordan in basketball or Jimi Hendrix on electric. It was before Tony Rice and after Tony Rice, you know, as far as music goes. But Tony was a phenomenal musician. I love that guy, and something else he invented was he took Doc Watson's doing chord and rhythm together and took it to the next level. So like if you do Wildwood Flower, Doc's version of Wildwood Flower would have been the same as like the Carter Family, where they're doing a melody like this. Gets a hold of it and does something like this. You see how he's like throwing in a lot more little licks. It's not just your. So he's probably my second favorite guitarist. Actually, I'm going in the wrong order. He'd be number 4. Doc would be 5. And we're going to work up to Jimi Hendrix, of course, because I was brainwashed. So we'll stop right there. And what we did right there was we took music from Europe, took it to North Carolina. It always comes across the ocean slow, and then we get in and we speed these things up because we have a little more flavor, got more culture. So we're going to stop right there. So that's when you're taking flat picking and you're adding more rhythm and more blues, and they're kind of, all these sounds are starting to come together. And we're going to go to Africa. So one of my favorite guitar players is Lightning Hopkins. He's from Texas. He was one of the original blues guys. He's just got, the folks down in Texas and Memphis and Louisiana, they just have so much soul in their music, and a lot of that's because, you know, Africa was a spoken language and their music was spoken. They had a lot of rhythm as far as percussion goes, but there wasn't a lot of instruments other than what they call the original banjo. And when the slaves came over on the ship, they were forced into Christianity, and they were forced to learn all these gospel songs. And then those songs basically turned into what blues turned into, and then it turned into rock and roll, and it turned into Jimi Hendrix, which is awesome. So Lightning would play, so essentially when he started playing guitar, he was taking some old gospel songs, and the blues originally sounded something like this when he was playing back in the, he was born in like 1926, I think, so in the 30s it was like. Well, I'm going down that old lonesome road. I'm going down that old lonesome road. I'm going down that old lonesome road, oh Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. And then after about a decade went by, Lightning started speeding it up, and this is where really rock and roll came from. You get this slow blues progression, it's really soulful, and then he started doing stuff like this. right down. Take you in my arms, I'm in love with you. Love that is true. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Alright, alright. So you can see a transition from slow blues into sped up blues, which turns into my second favorite guitar player. Or no, this is my third. This would be yeah, I'm trying to keep these in order. This is really, I'm gonna skip to Jimi Hendrix. He was my number one. Let's go ahead and do that. Because Jimmy learned a lot from Lightning Hopkins and people like him. And he took stuff just to another level. I mean, with the electric guitar, there's no rhyme or reason to his music. There's really no theory behind it. If you ever try to learn, it's just like you take your guitar, you turn it all the way up, lay it against your amp, and it makes crazy noises. And that was his style. But Stevie Ray Vaughan would be, it'd be 5, 4, 3. He would be my third. Jimi Hendrix would be one, and Jimmy Page would be my second. But as far as the way this music kind of turns into each other, we'll start with Hendrix. So Hendrix was playing some of the old blues stuff, like a song like this. Sit around the train station, waiting on that train. Tears coming, take me far away. So he was taking off Lightning and putting more lead licks into that blues, and then 10 years later he was doing things like, I don't know, any Jimi Hendrix song. Let's do Little Wing. So Little Wing, you can hear a little bit of that blues, but it's just on a different level where he's going. So you can kind of see where he's doing his own little thing, he's on his own little planet, you know. Then you get to my next favorite guitar player, which was number 3, but as far as the music's going, you get somebody like Stevie Ray Vaughan who studies Jimi Hendrix and B.B. King and Lightning Hopkins and all these guys. And he's taking that to a different level where you're having the Texas Flood Blues sound and you're still having that soulful New Orleans sound, and you got Jimi Hendrix kind of distorting it. So he does a song like this, which in the progression of music turns into be like more of a modern rock and roll, but love my baby like the finest wine. Love my baby all the time. She's my sweet little thing. She's my pride and joy. She's my sweet little baby. I'm but a little lover. And you can hear where he's got the rhythm, the lead licks, the singing, and doing the bass at the same time, which is crazy. So you got. And then he's throwing in lead in between there, and I play like a really lame version of that song. He's just, it still sounds cool. But so, and then you go to what would be Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, and I love Led Zeppelin. That's like when I was little, Dad was a cassette player or a record player.
Whatever they had at the time.
It was a record player, and I had these huge headphones, and I'd always be like trying to go outside and play. So come here, sit down for a minute. I'm like, all right. So put the headphones on, and I'm hearing fire and manic depression and all this. I'm like, what in the world is this? And then we same thing with Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. So like, I just became infatuated with that kind of music. I was taking piano lessons and playing like hot cross buns and taking me to the ball game. I was like, this is the lamest music I've ever heard. Like, I want to play guitar and I want to Fender Stratocaster. So, but you get somebody like Jimmy Page, he was born in Middlesex, England. And if you know anything about Jimmy Page, he was in a band that first started off with the Yardbirds, and he was like one of the most sought after studio musicians in all of England. And the Yardbirds put out musicians like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and all these other guys. And then of course he got it with Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and those guys that formed Led Zeppelin. But their musical style, you can really hear some classical, you can hear some blues, you can hear that Scotch-Irish sound. I mean, they really encompassed all the musical sounds that came to America that led up to that time when Led Zeppelin came out. And like, so one song, Over the Hill and Far Away, that first song, Derain's Hornpipe, where we're going, doing stuff like that. Over the Hills and Far Away start off doing the same type of Irish progression, and then it comes in with this really hard-hitting rock and roll progression that he kind of got from Lightning Hopkins, which is, it starts off going. That's kind of like Scotch-Irish. Up, but it needed a little rock and roll right. You got to rock and roll. So you can kind of see how he's taken all of these musicians that I've kind of named and put them into one sound. And another quick song he did that takes a lot from Lightning Hopkins, and I've read about how he does his rock and roll by Led Zeppelin, where he's taking a riff where Lightning would be going. And they're going. It's the exact same chord progression, you just beat it and put electric on it. And so it comes full circle right there. And then after Led Zeppelin, there's really nothing new. Everything they're doing today is really not that good. I mean, there's a diamond in the rough. You got to search for it, but it just blows me away. The more I got into the theory, and the more I got into these guys' stories, how I can read who their influences are, who have become my influences, and then to see how all that kind of integrated into one sound, which we call rock and roll. But anyways, that was just a quick synopsis of my top 5. Is Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Stevie Ray, Lightning Hopkins, and Doc Watson. So I appreciate the time.
I knew you could play the guitar. I didn't know you had all the knowledge of the musical history. Thank you so much, Chad. David, you done good, buddy, getting him started on that.
Well, he didn't do good. He wasn't in his top 5.
Oh, David, I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah. You might better do some buttering up after that, Chad.
Bass players, top 4.
There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Okay, let's have our pots of gold drawing. I guess, Chad, since you guessed, won't you come and do the actual drawing of this thing?
All right.
Find one that says Morris, make sure you get that.
Yeah, I got it. I'll go down to the bottom today. All right. You ready?
Oh, no. Bill Colebrook, Al Ruschatz.
Okay, great, cool. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, next week, I work with Bill Stone a bit, and y'all are going to be seeing things, as we know, tobacco is kind of being really suppressed in the area, but the area is not going to pot. It's hemp. It's hemp that they're growing. And so Bill's got one of his new soil science person is going to come and talk with us, because I've got 2 farmers that are directors on our board, and they'll be growing hemp or whatever. We're going to talk about that a little bit next week, so that'll be a good program. Would you stand with me and let's repeat the 4-way test and then the Pledge of Allegiance. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.